Today we are counting down the top influential movies of the year 1980. Movies that became pop culture icons and are still referenced and are brought up to this day. And with that, let's start the countdown.
Number 1.
I don't suppose they told you anything in Denver about the tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970?
The Shining got voted in as the most influential movie of the year 1980. I mean, it got votes from everyone. Different age groups, different groups of people, it didn't matter. At first we were a bit surprised by the turnout. However, the more we researched it, the more it made sense. This movie has iconic scene after iconic scene. We've all seen the "Here's Johnny" theme, the Freaky Twins, and we've all run around saying, "Red Rum, Red Rum." And for those of you who don't know, red rum is murder, spelled backwards. Now get a kid to write that on the wall. Let him say it over and over again.
Red rum. Red rum.
And you get a pretty freaky messed up scene. It is that type of scene that gets embedded into pop culture, and this movie had several of them. Although there are a lot of you who have actually never seen this movie, which is pretty sad. The pop culture world has made sure to keep this movie relevant today. In fact, here are a bunch of examples we found while we researched this movie.
Here's Johnny! Don't!
Who is it?
Here's Brucey!
Here's Bobby! I found him.
Hello, Johnny. Come play with us.
Hello, Lily.
Yeah, and there are still a bunch more examples out there. But we need to finish out this movie trailer and get back to the countdown.
Number 2.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
So, sequels tend to mess things up when counting down the most influential movies, since it is hard to calculate the impact the single individual sequel made versus the overall franchise. It is also hard to compare it to a standalone movie like The Shining. Typically, to avoid this, we simply give the honor to the first movie, and in this case we would be talking about the 1977 Star Wars movie. I am not sure if I am supposed to say A New Hope, since no one from 1980 would know what I'm talking about. But going back to the second one, or Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back is way too big not to mention on this list. Let me put it to you this way. All you non-Star Wars people who really didn't understand my New Hope in Episode 5 comments do recognize the fact that at some point, someone turns out to be someone's father, and this is the movie where that happens. The impact that scene made into pop culture could have made this the #1 movie, and no one would have argued, including me.
Coming to your galaxy this summer.
Number 3.
Hello?
Slasher horror flicks may not be your thing, but Friday the 13th definitely made an impact. Not only did it forever change how you saw old school hockey, but this one movie produced 11 sequels. There is no way you're not making this list with 11 sequels. That is a ridiculous amount. But what I did learn from all of these is that you did drugs, have premarital sex, or prank scared people, not only were you dying next, you were dying really, really badly. Why do you have to be like that, Jason? I'm going back to the original. This movie helped set the standard for slasher movies. They were even smart enough to cast a 22-year-old Kevin Bacon. Yeesh. Although I don't think Kevin makes it to the second one. Either way, this movie caused a major ripple effect in the pop culture world and easily earned a place on the list of most influential movies of the year 1980.
Friday the 13th.
Number 4.
Welcome to the Bushwood Country Club.
Caddyshack is considered one of the top golf movies of all time, so there is no shock that they are on this list. And oh my god, do golf people love to quote this movie. There was even a recent shout out to Caddyshack during a 2023 Super Bowl commercial. For all those math majors out there watching, there is a 43-year difference between the year 1980 and the year 2023. That is a pretty long time. It goes to show you how much of an impact this movie had on sports and on pop culture. Plus, it got to be the #1 golf comedy for 16 years, before 1996 would bring us a movie called Happy Gilmore. However, that is a long time from here, so for the moment, we would just enjoy the fact that Caddyshack is one of the top 4 most influential movies of the year 1980.
Caddyshack, the comedy with...
Number 5.
Well, what are you guys going to do? The same act? You wear the same Focaccia suits? You'll scare people away.
The Blues Brothers movie comes in at number 5 on the list. Hollywood was starting to figure out that they could make money on Saturday Night Live sketches, and they went all in on this one. In fact, The Blues Brothers was the first Saturday Night Live sketch to be turned into a movie, the very first one. They spent $27 million to make this movie and made $115 million. Yeah, Hollywood didn't have to think hard on this one, and this movie not only opened the flood doors for SNL sketches, but for their cast members too. Blues Brothers 2000 came out in 1998 as a sequel, but it did not fare so well. However, by that point, the Blues Brothers had already made a place in itself in pop culture and on this list.
Are you the police?
No, ma'am. We're musicians.
Number 6.
Stand by for the most extraordinary...
Airplane the movie was making dad jokes way before that was an actual thing, and they had plenty.
This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
It is also still one of the most quoted movies of all time.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
It was one of the original, fast-paced slapstick comedies that successfully used puns, running jokes, and satire. Several other movies soon followed using this specific formula and also found success. However, Airplane the movie still holds the title as the best one and made the biggest impact of them all in pop culture.
Airplane.
Number 7.
Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything can you offer me today?
An obscure body.
Flash Gordon comes in as one of those movies that you know or don't know. It technically just barely got enough votes to make it onto the list, but that doesn't matter. The important thing is, it made it. This movie got Queen the rock group to make its entire soundtrack and has a huge cult following. It scored extremely high with 80s kids. However, it started dropping fast until it got some kind of resurgence with a significantly younger group. Based on what we found, this resurgence is thanks mostly in part to Ted 2, which came out in 2015. In fact, Mark Wahlberg's reaction to meeting Flash Gordon in Ted 2 is a perfect example of how those 80s kids would have reacted as adults. Although the votes are important to our calculation formula, it is this obsession, aka cult following, for this movie that really separates it from all the other movies and made the biggest contribution to today's pop culture. Well, there you go. Those are the top most influential movies of the year 1980. Honorable mentions are going out to Superman 2, who did get a lot of votes, but we are not going through that nightmare of trying to calculate a sequel again. And Urban Cowboy, who did not get enough votes to make the list, but is still getting a shout out. Do me a favor and let us know if we missed any or got the rankings wrong. We can totally remake this video if we get enough votes. please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to check out our other video for the most influential movies of the year 1981.